Hello. Combat here. Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. In this video, we're doing something a little different. It might be a start of a series, might not be, depends how it goes. We're going to be breaking down an archetype. I recently did a poll on my YouTube channel. I put it up on the screen here, asking what archetype people would be interested in me doing the first time to give this a see if it works. And it was voted for Lockdown. So we're going to do Lockdown. We're going to break it down. We're going to look at key cards. We're going to look at decks. We're going to look at like your game plan. We're going to talk about matchups. Then we're going to look at future spotlight caches and that in case you were missing some series 4 or 5 or cards coming up that might impact this deck so that you could do it. And I haven't put it on there. We'll talk about possible nerfs because I'd imagine this deck gets hit, so we'll speculate on a couple of things. I have zero insight on any future patches or nerfs, so we might just look at cards which should possibly get nerfed and we'll go from there. Okay, we're going to get to the key cards. These are cards that if you add to this archetype, it makes it a lot better. There is going to be cards in here that people argue shouldn't be here, and there's going to be cards people argue should be in here. Well, this is on me. I feel like if you have these cards in your deck is so much better than without these cards. So let's get straight into it. The first card is going to be, Mr. Lockdown here, Professor X, right? The main guy. Without Professor X, Lockdown just isn't Lockdown. Before you had like Spider-Man way back when he was annoying card, before he was fun, and now we've just got Professor X. So he is Lockdown, right? You're gonna get him down, you're gonna lock down a lane, and you can follow with other cards, right? You're gonna win a lane with this. So he is just that card. So obviously, putting him in a deck, he is the first card that goes in. If you want to play Professor X, you're playing a Lockdown. Next up is Professor X's best friend right now in Alioth. Alioth is the card that everyone hates the most, right? People hate this card. I actually don't mind this card. I hated the meta before where it was all like, can you dodge Shang-Chi? Can you dodge Killmonger with Kitty Pryde? Stuff like this. It was bounce and not all. You won by not having initiative. Now with Cloud, you have to be like, ooh, can they run Cloud in that deck? If they can, I need initiative. If they can't, then I'm okay. So it makes it a balancing act. This card, easy enough to follow up, right? You put Professor X a lane, hopefully you're winning priority, and then you Cloud the next lane. Easy enough. I'm going to follow that out with Doctor Doom, another 6-drop. This is more into, like, if you storm a lane and you can't reach a lane, you can Doom out this off. If you didn't get your Professor X down, you add 15 power. It goes more with the other cards that isn't Professor X in the Lockdown. There's another way of winning. Like, for a deck to be constantly up there, tier 1, tier 2, whatever you want to say, you need more than one way to win. You can't be like, this is the only way I win, right? Because if you don't draw that card, you're sad. So you need other ways to win, and this Doom helps with another way to win. It teams up well with the second card, next card, should I say, not second card, which is Miss Marvel, right? You have Miss Marvel down, you Doom, you're adding a lot of power onto the lanes without really putting much pressure there, right? You have, 10 power in the lane, Miss Marvel and Doom, which is great. It lets you also, she reaches Professor X lane, she'll reach the Storm lane, she'll just put power out there. Great card. Talking of Storm, of course, Storm. This is one that I nearly never put on the list, but I feel like you kind of need her on the list. Like before, I probably wouldn't have put her on before Miss Marvel, but with Miss Marvel, it's so much easier to put Storm in here because you now have Miss Marvel to reach it. You have Jeff that can reach it, and you have Doom that can reach the lane, right? So you have ways now, which is great. Of course, Storm, flood the location and you can't play there. locks down another lane, Professor X locks down a lane, and you can Cloud to lock down the third lane, right? Talking about the lovable shark, Jeff, also a key card. You kind of really want him. You can get into Professor X, get out of Professor X, reach the Storm lane. You play him early on 2, so you don't have to worry. If you don't get him out early, you can also just pull him out later, catch him off guard. Incredibly good card. One of the best cards in the game. And these two, I feel like the next two, this card and the next card, the cards that I feel are on the borderline, but having these cards can win you games. Probably win you more games than the other ones. Iron Lad, you get this down on turn 4 and you get Professor X early. Bam. That's probably a win on turn 4, as long as you don't go into their lane that they are stacking stuff. Obviously, you could pull out Jeff, Big Jeff then, Doom, Cloud, Storm even, Miss Marvel. Pretty much everything you put in a lockdown deck is great for Iron Lad. So you could argue that he's not a key card, but I feel like he is. He'll win you so many cubes that he has to be considered a key card, in my opinion. And lastly, my favorite card in the game. This card has won me so many cubes. This card wins me more games than Goliath does. He's just a worse Goliath in most situations, but at the same time, no one expects it. She's a cheap card. If you don't get Jeff out early, you can Negasonic a lane if you're ahead, and then Jeff into another lane if you wanted to. If you catch these people out, great card. You should definitely consider putting this card in. But at the same time, she's borderline. Like, I might be one of the only people that think she's a key card in here, because I love playing this card and she's incredible. So we're going to quickly look at spotlights. There's no real card coming up soon that directly improve lockdown. There's some that could affect it a little bit, like Havoc. If they Viper it over to you, could be a little bit of a problem, but for the most part, nothing really is affecting it. So we're just going to look at when key cards are coming, right? So Jeff is coming next week. Not next, is it next week? Yeah, next week. Jeff's in Spotlight. Great card for lockdown. Iron Lad's on the 27th. Annihilus, I like the junk version. It's coming on the 17th. Probably might not matter by then. Might get a nerf, might not. We'll see. And then on the 31st of January, Nebula's in here, which is another great card for adding on to the decks. One card that I left off because I feel like it didn't really need to go in the key cards. She has played a hell of a lot in lockdown and can be incredible. But I kind of left her off because I didn't want to put 8-9 cards in here. So she missed out on the cut. Nebula can be great in lockdown. It can also just not do anything, right? So I kind of left her off. But you can also put her in, especially if you're replacing any of these cards that we've talked about here. Nebula is a very, very good option to slot in there. Okay, next up we're going to talk about matchups, the good stuff, the bad stuff. I want to just quickly go over this. People are going to have different opinions on the matchups. For what I've done here, I've tried to think about matchups in like batches of 10 games. So, and then tried to think in my head and how matchups play out and who would take it over 10 games. So, let's get into it. So, discard, I believe, if they do their thing, you do your thing. I think they just take it. It'd be very close. This is close to the middle, but I think like they slightly edge it because we have no way of interacting with them. Negasonic is a key card in the matchup against discard. It kind of depends on the version you play in, but most of the time, if they do their thing, you do your thing. They slightly win, very slightly. I'm trying to think of these as a wide range of lockdown as well. So like the not standard, the junk one that's just come out, Thanos type control lockdown. I'm trying to generalize it. Next up, Darkhawk. Darkhawk is super flexible. You can play the cards that you are. They can play the Elias. You can play the Dooms, right? You can play the Negasonics. They can put out a lot of power, get initiative and snipers. They can even run jets and stuff like that in there. So they probably take it probably quite handily. Like it's probably 7-8 games out of 10. They probably take it. Loki, very similar. Probably 7-8 games out of 10. Like, Loki just steals your cards and does it better, right? Especially if you've got Quinjet down into Loki, right? 4 power cloud beats a 6 power cloud, right? Again, we have no real way of dealing with it. The problem with lockdown is you are doing your thing. I say problem, but it's also what makes the deck pretty good, right? You're just doing your thing. You don't care about what they do. But if there's decks that can do stuff better than you, then it's a little awkward. So the last one, I know I've missed a handful of decks off, but I want to keep trying to keep it short. Last one for bad is Thanos, because Thanos is again super flexible, right? If it's a lockdown control type version, they do what you're doing, but they've got 1 or 2 ramp cards. If it's destroy, you might slightly be favored, but it's also very hard because you can ramp, destroy stones, destroy everything, get a death out real early, right? Get a null out early. You know, we can't really deal with stuff not getting played out when we want them to. So I give Thanos a slight edge just for the flexibility. Okay, well now we're going to move on to the good decks. Starting with Shuri. So I think we slightly have the edge of Shuri, just for the fact that if we storm a lane, we probably win that lane, unless they've got like Ebony Maw and the card that removes it. It's just completely gone out of my head right now in that lane or something like that. But then you don't storm that lane, right? So it's kind of okay. Because they want to Sauron into Shuri, right? That's slow. So if we storm a lane, bam, we can snipe that lane. Then we could Professor X another lane, because you know if Shuri don't fall, you know where they're putting it. If they don't have armor on that lane, you could Negasonic it, right? If we have Prio, you know, plenty of options. I'll give us a slight edge. Destroy, again, very slight edge, because they don't normally run reliable ways to get into storm lanes. You can put them down with getting out an early Professor X. Professor X can stop that stuff coming down. Negasonic can blow stuff up. Alioth, you know, we've got plenty of ways to deal with them. Galactus, we have ways of locking down lanes. We have ways of stopping it. We can get some power. We can storm. If we know we're against Galactus, we pretty much get Miss Marvel down early, hopefully, and then we stop Galactus. So it's pretty simple enough to get to a position to stop Galactus. Obviously, Galactus, high rolls, perfect draws. High Evo. So this is awkward because they can cause you problems. Like Leech on 5 hurts. Kind of hurts a lot, right? And especially if you don't have Cloud and Negasonic in your hand, stuff like that, it can hurt. But at the same time, I think over like 10 games, we slightly take it because we can blow up their stuff if they don't leech us. We can lock down lanes, so it can be quite easily enough to take it. Obviously, it can be very hard, but we can also tech towards stuff like that, like putting a Killmonger in. Sometimes I put a Killmonger in, depending on what decks I'm facing. Luke Cage, stuff like that. We can take it, so I'll put it in a good deck for us. Move, again, can be good. The Silky Smooth type deck probably favors us, but standard move and general move we take, so slightly give us the edge, because we'll lock down and move wants to move, right? You lock down their move cards, and you win the other 2 lanes. Junk. We can take the lead on Junk. It's a little awkward, but if we're running... this is one where I had to think about general, because I like the Junk lockdown right now, so we definitely beat Junk with the Junk lockdown. The Thanos type control lockdown probably beats it as well, because you can get stuff out earlier and stop their annoying stuff and buff out everything up. And then, yeah, so we slowly take the Junk. So that's it for the matchups. Kind of went a little long for that. I wanted it to be shorter, but it's what it is. The first step we're going to quickly look at and talk about is going to be the Junk lockdown. This is my favorite type right now. So the idea here is we're just going to throw a little one. We're just going to throw some Junk down, right? We've got standard lockdown, but with junk in here, so it's kind of the same way. Is the game plan is Storm right, Miss Marvel in mid, Professor X lane, and Annihilus, right? That's kind of a key game plan. So you put like your Nebula and your Hood right, Jeff wherever you want it, Storm right, Miss Marvel or Sentry mid, Annihilus. The idea of this is that they can't play a card to block the lane so that you can throw your stuff over there. Negasonic can use to win a lane. Goliath can be, Doom reaches the lanes. Pretty straightforward, simple. The idea, so you want to make sure that you Storm right most of the time so they can't block the junk lane. Put your junk cards over there. Get Miss Marvel down early if you can. Play through initiative so that you can Negasonic and Goliath. Pretty straightforward. The second one is pretty much a standard list, right? We've got Daredevil in here, Medusa for good starts, Gamora because we're storming lockdown a lane, so she's a good 5 to have. Obviously with Daredevil, you know where they're playing, so you can get her to power quite easily. Game, again, it's a lot of the key cards, right? Jeff, Storm, Iron Lad, Professor X, Gamora, Doom, Miss Marvel, stuff like that. We've already talked about those cards in this video, so we're not going to talk much about it, but the idea is pretty straightforward. Lockdown's the same, right? Storm a lane, Miss Marvel, Professor X, get ahead, hit an Goliath, hit a Doom, whatever you need, win game. The last one is going to be the Thanos, like lockdown type control. I'll put this in the lockdown because it is Professor X, and a lot of the win conditions does come from Proth into Goliath, so it does clearly count in here, but it's a little bit more greedy control type. But Professor X is a big part of the game plan, beats a lot of the matchups, so you win this by Psylocking out on 3 and then on turn 4 Professor X in, right? Or Greenstone into Professor X on 4. So that's lockdown in my opinion. Anyways, this one's a little bit different because you are playing for your stones. You got Elsa, you got Jeff, you got Vision. They can go into those lanes and move around. So you got more ways to win. Issue with this deck is it's a lot worse into Loki, a lot worse into Darkhawks. It's all sort of like bad matchups are really bad. Other matchups are pretty good into it as well. So the other version is a little bit better. It's a little bit better into the bad matchups, and the good matchups are better. So it's kind of awkward mix between this and like standard type stuff. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another video. Peace.